Hello again, viewers. Welcome back to another video for Gran Turismo 7, where we have the next round of daily races for I guess week 3, as we're counting the progress of this account for YouTube. But yeah, we're gonna go ahead and get into it. I'm gonna showcase this race that I did in the Lamborghini Huracan. This car was actually really good for this trail. Each week I'm going to be trying out different vehicles just to see what are going to be some weak points and strong points depending on the track that there is and what we have working with and all that stuff. So I decided to go ahead and try out the Huracan for this week for the Deep Forest trail that we got going on. Now, me personally, I actually really enjoyed this race. Mainly the one that I'm showcasing right now, but just for the daily week or the daily races for this week, I enjoyed the Deep Forest Trail a lot because it had a lot of flowing turns that really highlighted the strengths of the Huracan, which I'm going to be showing within the video. I understand through people that have been playing Gran Turismo 7 since the release. Apparently they cycle through this track a lot. Like Polyphony really favors this track for the daily races. So I think a lot of people were starting to get burned out by it, but in my opinion, I could go for this trail again. Like, I thought it was pretty damn fun. But anyways, with that being said, let's go ahead and get into the race. We have 14 laps. And I forgot exactly what the tire wear and the fuel was. I think it was supposed to be like 4 for the tire wear. No, it should have been like 6 for the tire wear and maybe like, I think like 2 for the fuel. But anyways, I'm kind of digressing. Let's go ahead and get into the race. So we're already about halfway through the first lap. It looks like we are going to be in 4th position. Another thing that I've noticed with this trail was originally I had tried out, I think it was the Gr.3 Corvette, and I managed to get a decent lap time, but I think my position was still going to be like in the bottom. I think maybe around like 12th or 11th position. But whenever I tried out the Huracan, I was able to bump up my position more, I think like in the 8th spot. We'll see at the end of this video. But anyways, back to the race. So we're coming at the end of lap 1, and we're going to be battling this Pugo right here for 3rd place. So we can see at the turn, I was neck and neck with him, and I kind of psyched him out, and he went a little bit deep for the dive on the brakes, which caused him to go really wide on that turn, and I was able to snag the 3rd place podium position. So now we're just going to be trying to catch up to this green Porsche that's going to be right in front of us, which is honestly pretty quick. I think I was struggling to keep up with him for a good while because this guy was really fast. And then you can see at the bottom we have 4th place position kind of poking in and out, trying to see what he can do to overtake my position. He's going to try and take the inside line, but I just kind of hold him off on the outside line, and then I check to see where the progress is, how much distance I have between him before I come up on this first turn. So this first turn was a real pain in the butt. Everyone, including myself, was getting this turn wrong because you're going in at such high speed and you have to hit the brakes at the right time in order to get like the optimal racing line through the exit on there, which it looks like on that turn I managed to do pretty well. I didn't do too bad. I didn't go really wide or anything, but you have to be very careful on those 3 spiked bumps in that curve, because if you hit all 3 of them, I don't think you get a penalty for it, but since these cars have a lot of stiff suspensions, it will cause your car to like bounce slightly, and then it's just going to straighten it out, and you're going to have to overcorrect to get that exit perfect. Just a little tip, I guess, if no one has ever driven on the Deep Forest Trail, now you know. So anyways, I guess I went over the curve back there, and I gained a half-second penalty, so we're already going to be at a disadvantage with this Porsche trying to battle for 2nd place podium position. And now we have that half-second penalty stacked on top of that, so It looks like I'm going to be struggling quite a bit to try and see if I can snag that spot from him. But what I was doing in the meantime was just maintaining my racing line, making sure everything was going through properly. So whenever I get hit with this penalty line right here, I can, after I lose the momentum, then I can just see what more I can do to try and fight back for that position. Luckily, it's coming up on this extremely hard turn that, like I said, everyone was really struggling to get with. You can see all three of the drivers right there next to me kind of went wide. So now we are seeing that Pugo from earlier. He's going to take my third place position, but he gets hit with a half-second penalty because I think he went a little bit too wide on that turn. And of course, Polyphony just has a very, very weird penalty system. So we're not going to be worrying too much about him. We do know eventually at the end of this lap he's going to slow down. But now look at this right here. We have a four-way battle between the Porsche, the Pugo, a BMW, and me and the Lamborghini Huracan. So we can already see right here, these two guys in front of me are kind of battling. The BMW did get a little bit of oversteer, so I was able to put the pressure on him just a little bit more. But again, I don't really want to battle too much within this three-person crowd, including myself, because one guy is already having a half-second penalty, so eventually he's going to slow down. And then what I usually do is, if they have some sort of battle going on like this in front of me, just let them battle it out. If they're going to try and take their positions, or if they end up trading some blows on bumpers and all that stuff, then you can use that to your advantage, because they're going to be losing momentum while you're just hanging back and just taking away the positions as they're battling. So you can already see that Pugo, he got hit with that penalty, so he's going to be behind us. And we're still going to maintain that very tight hairpin turn to the left as best as we can, so we can get proper exit speed to battle this blue BMW that's going to be in front of me for the third position. So here we go. This is going to be fourth lap out of 14 laps. And we're going to be battling this guy. We're going to see what we can do. We're going to brake a little bit later on the inside line, and we're going to be able to try and snag that position just for a tiny bit. And he's battling to get his position back from me for third, but I was able to maintain my racing line pretty well and keep him right behind me. So now I'm got my eyes set forward on that green Porsche that I was battling for second place position earlier. It looks like he didn't really go down in any spots. So now I'm trying to figure out what I can do to gain as much speed as I can so I can overtake his position. And then right here you can see that BMW gave me a pretty big smack on the rear. I think it was because that Pugo ran into him as well. So we're going to go ahead and fast forward, because after that it was pretty much just playing catch up with the green Porsche. We're going to fast forward to 6th lap, and we can see second place is going to hit the pit stop to swap out his tires. So that's going to bring me into the second place podium position for right now. What can I do to maintain this position? Am I going to stay there, or am I going to end up having to drop a little bit whenever I take my pit stop? Because I usually took, when I was running the weekly races for the Deep Forest Trail for this week, I took all of my pit stops around the 7th or 8th lap out of 14, just because I knew what my car was capable of as far as grip, and I know what my driving capabilities are based off of how much tire wear I have. You can already see at the bottom, the tires are almost about halfway done, so I'm probably going to end up pitting pretty soon. But anyways, the BMW comes back into the picture, the one that got rammed into me earlier. So again, I'm just trying to maintain the best optimal racing line. You go wide on the entry, go narrow into the point of the hairpin, and then wide for the exit to maintain momentum. So me and the BMW here are gonna go ahead and take our pit stop. Of course, we don't need any more gas. We're just gonna swap out our tires because we do know that our grip is lacking a lot at this point in the race. So here we are. We only lost about, I think we lost like 3 positions because we were from second, and now we're in 5th place podium position, and now we're just doing a little bit of catching up to see where we're gonna go forward with this race. So here's that Pugo again. He's gonna try and take the inside racing line. I go a little bit wide, and I do a cut in into the racing line and take my position back because he went a little bit wide on his exit. So I am able to maintain my 5th place position for now, at least, just to see what he can do. So right here, it looks like we have another contender that's going to be part of the picture. It's going to be Mr. Lightning McQueen right here. Well, I should say a Ferrari with the Lightning McQueen livery, but you know what I mean. So here I accidentally gave him a bit of a bump on the rear, and I don't know if he meant to do that, but he retaliated with a bump of his own to try and throw me off. So we're just going to seek for an opportunity to see if he makes a mistake. Right there, he went a little bit wide and dipped his tires into the grass. So he did lose a little bit of momentum, and I was able to take the 5th place spot back. And we're just going to be battling this guy that's in 4th place that drives that Pugo. This dude was honestly pretty quick. He did make a lot of mistakes like he just made right there. And then there he just cuts in way too much onto the apex, and he gets a bad exit, which causes him to ram into the wall. So other than that, I mean, for the most part of the race, I did see him popping in and out. He was battling me pretty well for the position, so I'll give him props for that. He was pretty good. I think the nerves just got to him a little bit too much, and he started making some bad plays within the race. So with that being said, I think for right now he might be out of the picture. We have to worry about this the red Ferrari with the Lightning McQueen livery that was giving me a little bit of issues earlier into the race. As y'all saw, he was kind of bumping into me, and I had to kind of retaliate and just sit back and see what I can do. So he went a little bit wide on his exit, and I just kind of stayed with the normal racing line, and I took back my position, and we're just going to see if we can keep this spot for as long as we can before he comes back into the picture again. Now, the Lamborghini did overall have some pretty good straight line speed. It's not the best compared to other Gr.3 cars, but for the handling, the acceleration, and the speed, the Lamborghini did me pretty good justice on this track. Like, it had phenomenal grip. This part of the turn right there, usually in other cars they go a little bit wide because they don't have as much grip, but the Lamborghini just stuck to the road beautifully. I was able to get all my apexes for the most part correctly, unless I got bumped by some other person or whatnot. So that's why I wanted to showcase this daily race with the Lamborghini, just because the handling and the acceleration on it was just absolutely phenomenal. Compared to the red Lightning McQueen Ferrari that I'm battling right now, he did have just a slight advantage with his straight line speed. You can already see, like, he might have been able to pass me up, or at least battle me neck and neck on that turn right there, but for some reason he just kept on giving me a bunch of unnecessary contact. You can see he bumps me again, and then 6th place position comes in out of nowhere and kind of gives me a bit of a bump draft that almost kind of knocked me off of the racing line, but I was able to recover it just fine. So here we are, we're going to be onto the 13th lap out of 14, the second to last. And during this point in the race, the pressure was really on. This Ferrari was constantly on my tail, trying to battle me for my 5th place position. And we can see right here, as I was mentioning earlier, he does have a little bit better of the straight line speed, but he was never able to properly get this last hairpin turn correct. Like, you can see, he kind of went just a little bit wide, and I did a cut back into the racing line and was able to snag my position for 4th. So I feel like he could have actually really had me if he just managed to maintain that racing line just a tiny bit better, but it is what it is. So here we are, we're going to be on the final lap. Here comes that Ferrari again. You can see him poking in through the right hand corner of the screen. At this point in the race, I don't want to battle anyone. I'm just going to try and maintain my composure and really stick to the racing line as best as I can, because that's really a lot of what goes on in these races. Is if there's someone behind you, the nerves can kind of get to you and you start making little small errors that will cost you time or momentum. So on the last lap, you really have to just kind of compose yourself and make sure you're keeping your optimal racing line, whatever is working best for you and the vehicle that you're using, and just be calm and stay the course as much as you can. Because if you let one little incremental change in your speed or turn, if you let that happen, then the people behind you are just going to constantly gain speed, and then they're going to get that slight window of opportunity to overtake you, which you don't want. So here we are, we're going to be coming into the last hairpin turn. We have a yellow flag, and then here we are right here. Third place position made a very crucial mistake that caused him to spin out, and I was able to pass him up right as it said, right as it changed from a yellow flag warning to no passing. So here we are, guys. I was able to finish this race in the third place podium position. This was the first race that I have ever been able to maintain getting at least a podium position in sport, in this sports series, which I was pretty hyped about. I mean, this was a really badass race. There was a bunch of battles that was going on throughout the entirety of it. The last 2 laps were very hectic, but at the end of the day, I was able to snag that spot, and we got third position, first time. So this is going to be another race in the Deep Forest Raceway. It's not going to be as long or as intensive as that race with the Huracan, but I did want to showcase the difference between the Ford GT from 2017 compared to that Lamborghini Huracan. So this car right here, the main difference between the two, from what I noticed, was going to be the handling and the top speed. The Ford GT has a little bit longer gears, so whenever it came to tighter turns, you could see I was downshifting from second gear to first, because on the tight hairpin towards the end of the lap of this race, the Ford GT, because the gears are so long, I was able to shift into first gear to get as much maximum turning as I could, because in the second gear it wasn't doing as much. It wasn't really turning as well as the Lamborghini Huracan was. You can see that Viper just kind of bumped me out of the course for a tiny bit, so now I got to battle back for a 10th place position. But anyways, so yeah, the Ford GT really was a good car to use for this race as well. It actually, surprisingly, whenever I was doing my qualifying lap, I actually managed to shave off a second than what I used for the Huracan, so I got a better position for the start of the race, which was good, because the higher you are in the positions, the less BS that you're gonna have to deal with a bunch of cars knocking into each other and, you know, going through all the bumper car motion BS. But here, the Ford GT is really going to have its main strength on this last straight right here before the lap ends, because it has a very, very good top speed compared to the other cars, because all of them are going to be balanced, or all of them are going to be set to the balance of performance. So this is where the top speed really came into play, and this is why I wanted to show y'all what it looked like on the Deep Forest Trail compared to the Huracan. It has a little bit less grip, and you do have to deal with a slight bit of oversteer. You do have to deal with a slight bit of understeer, but it does have very phenomenal acceleration and top speed. So we're gonna fast forward. That Viper had a penalty, so I wasn't really too worried about battling him too much. This Viper right here made a mistake and hit the left-hand wall, and then he kind of cut back into the circuit at a bad time, and I accidentally bumped into him. I don't know if that was 100% completely my fault. Maybe I could have hit the brakes a little bit earlier to avoid bumping into him, but he ended up spinning out, and I ended up taking his spot. So we're going to fast forward. This is going to be the 9th lap. I'm in 10th place position because I did have to take a pit stop to get a fresh set of tires. And then that blue Viper that was kind of bumping around and had that 3-second penalty from earlier comes back into the picture, and he's going to be in the 8th spot. So I'm going to try and do as best as I can to see if I can get some draft from him so I can try and overtake him and snag his spot for that podium position. So here we are. This is going to be the 10th lap. We're at 9th place, and I'm going to see if I can utilize the 4GT's speed as best as I can to try and figure out if I can do some sort of cut in on the overtake, which I was able to do. That blue Viper did kind of spin out once again and gave me a bit of a rear tap on my right rear tire, or yeah, tire I should say. So he spins out, and he's essentially going to be out of the picture for this moment. Now I'm going to see if I can snag any more positions before the race ends. So we're going to be coming into the 13th lap right about here, and that blue Viper once again comes into the picture. I don't know how this guy keeps managing to come back and battle me into this race, because I swear he spun out in this race at least maybe like 2 or 3 times, but he just keeps coming back, man. He keeps coming back, and he keeps wanting to take my position, which he actually did, as you can see here in the video. But you know, props to him. He did make a little bit of mistakes here and there. You could see he did have some oversteer on that turn, but we're gonna try and see if we can just take his spot back. We're gonna hug the apex right about here, stay into 3rd gear, and then we're gonna shift down into 1st to see if we could get a little bit better turn in for that turn. And then we're gonna see if we can utilize the 4GT's top speed on this straightaway to try and close the gap between me and that blue Viper, which I think I was able to do. So we're gonna come in, we're gonna brake right behind him, and we're gonna see if we can just cut in on that hairpin turn. This guy right here seemed to have made a mistake, which caused the yellow flag to be raised, and now it's going to be a 3-way battle between these 2 Vipers against me. Now these guys were butting heads a couple of seconds ago, as y'all saw, but again, once there's some battles going on like this where the 2 drivers are just like constantly bumping heads with each other, you're going to want to kind of hang back. I accidentally bumped him a little bit, so I slowed down so they can maintain their positions, because I did realize that was an error on my part, so I don't want to have like a bad overtake or anything like that. So I did lose a little bit of speed and time, but it's alright. I do know the strengths of my racing on this track, which is going to be that little curve turn segment right there on that race, and I was able to kind of close the gap between me and this blue Viper. Again, he does get a little bit more of that oversteer on the turn, but we're just going to try and play it safe and stick with the main optimal racing line for myself. And we're going to do a little bit of an earlier turn in for that left-hand turn right there. And then right here, we're going to see what happens on this last turn. What is going to happen between these 2 Vipers? I wasn't able to do a cut-in takeover or anything like that, but we're going to try and see what we can do on this last straightaway. These 2 Vipers are going at it. They start bumping heads. I try and see if I can take advantage of that battle right there. Can I snag a position for 6? Not quite, but we ended up ending in the 7th position, which, I mean, again, it wasn't really too bad. That was a pretty decent race as well. It's just this one was cut down a lot more than the Huracan race, just because there wasn't really much going on until it was toward the end. So there we have it. We got 7th place position for that. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I know I had a lot of fun on this track. I was finally able to secure, I think, my first podium position, which is going to be 3rd place for that Lamborghini Huracan. So that is why I also wanted to showcase this race too. Remember, I'm only playing on controller because I'm just getting back into this game for what's been like 2 years. So yeah, guys, that's going to be it. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. And there will be more Gran Turismo 7 content in the future. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.